can hear you.
Okay.
Good morning and welcome to the July 12, 2022 Municipal Airport Authority meeting, City of Fargo. Let's start off by approval of the minutes of the June 28th meeting. I do have one correction. I made the disclosure that I work with a registered investment advisor and a broker dealer, and I think it called up that I have my own. I work with them. So, any correction?
I have a correction.
Yes.
It said Ekman now absent, and I was able to get onto the Zoom call, so.
Oh, okay, I'll remove that.
Oh, so you were present via Zoom?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other corrections, comments? None?
Lind?
This is Captain
Yep.
Tan.
Go ahead.
I move we approve the minutes as amended.
Can I get a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Conversation.
Lind?
Aye.
Cosgrove?
Aye.
Capitan?
Aye.
Heckman?
Aye.
Hengen?
Aye. Moving to item 2, approve airport vouchers totaling $199,060.80. Can I have a motion, please?
I so move.
I have a question.
Yes.
Well, I was just looking at the numbers, and I was looking at the amount we spent on internet for the different buildings, and it looks to be about $1,400 or $1,500 for all of the buildings, and it seems a little high. I was just wondering, when was the last time we got this is probably more for Sean, when was the last time we got a quote on that?
We just started that January 1st in our transition, so Aaron, do you know how many? We took proposals from a number of them, they came before.
This is for internet services?
Is it, there's some equipment?
Yeah, well, in some of those, like for our SRE building that are quite large, we're paying for the installation over 3 years. So it added extra, but you know, we have the fire department on the other side of the airport. I know customs, is that in there?
Customs.
Yeah, customs.
Yeah.
And then, I guess I'm not sure about 1400.
Okay, but we were paying for equipment as well.
Yeah, and then we got the public Wi-Fi in the building, along with the public internet in the building, and then we have the administrative internet in the building. So there should be 4.
Yeah, I forgot about the equipment, so that's a good enough answer for me. No more questions from Eric.
Thank you for being available, by the way. I know you're a couple hours off of this.
Yeah, thank you.
Motion, second?
So
Second.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers.
Motion in a second. Roll call.
Lind?
Aye.
Cosgrove?
Aye.
Capitan?
Aye.
Heckman?
Aye.
Hengen?
Aye. Moving to item number 3, individual vouchers. Belair Aviation, $3,750. Oshkosh, $45,441. CMTA, $1,250. CMTA, $2,720. Flint Communications, $19,786.88. Can I have a motion?
Captain, so moved.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
second.
We have a motion and a second. Comments? None?
Lind?
Aye.
Cosgrove?
Aye.
Capitan?
Aye.
Heckman?
Aye.
Hengen?
Aye. Moving on to number 4, receive updated CIP.
Okay, the primary purpose of this is due to the action that you took at the last meeting where you approved one of the concepts of the terminal expansion. So this document was updated. We worked in concert. Jeff updated this in concert with the FAA and the North Dakota Aeronautics Commission, who were here, was it last week, for a tour. They spent a few hours here, representatives from both the FAA and the Aeronautics Commission. What you see in 2022, the majority of the projects are actual bid amounts because we've awarded those contracts. And what you see for 2023 are the estimated costs for South GA pavement reconstruction, North GA apron expansion to accommodate the Jet Center expansion that they're underway with up there. Terminal expansion of here next to the east to accommodate the proposed expansion of the terminal to the east. As we talked at the last meeting with the consultant, we would look to having an architect on board by this fall for the proposed terminal expansion project. So the 6.7 million that's there for that, I'm sorry, 6.5 million is there for the design of the terminal building expansion. And then there's some other miscellaneous projects there that we intend to move forward with, like snow removal acquisition. Hopefully at the next meeting, if not the first meeting in August, we'll have before you bids for a front-end loader, which we were told last week is 18 months to get. Is that correct, Jordan? I think that they told us 18 months out to get a loader from Caterpillar, John Deere, or Case. So like I say, this is a living document. It was provided to Kember at the city commission office, which was then distributed to city commissioners, the mayor, along with Mike Redlinger and others. So I guess what questions do you have? Where you can see the funding shortfalls. 13.7 million next year. We're about 3.5 million this year. It does show the 2 million that we received from the state last month for their share of the cargo waiver, but we still have an unfunded balance. So you'll see the in 2022 FAA CARES Development Grant, we still have a little over 14 million in the CARES Development Grant. The FAA wants us to put forth, I guess, an application for the projects that are listed there. There's some debate on whether or not it should be final project costs as opposed to bid project costs, or estimates, I should say. We'd like it to be as accurate as possible along with the FAA, because this would be an addendum to that grant where they'll pull out and then reimburse for the eligible portions of those projects. So Jeff, do you have anything to add? Or?
Yeah, I make one comment. So I just want to make note that this document is ever evolving, you know, on a rapid basis. And the reason I bring that up is we had identified in the CIP, if I'm not mistaken, 2 projects to be applied for build terminal funding, which is discretionary money from the FAA. It's a competitive process, and those projects were the terminal study that we're currently working on, and then $1 million for a passenger boarding bridge to replace gate 4. Just, I think it was Friday of last week, that those projects totaled about $1.5 million, $1.6 million. About Friday of last week, the airport was notified that they weren't selected for that funding because of the $1 billion that was available. There was $14 billion of requests. So now that money that's in the CIP identified as build terminal funding has got to shift to essentially the local funding for now. So it's always this, you know, moving back and forth of, you know, the funding need is always there. It's just what pot of money it comes out of. So
the delegation did support our bill grant requests, Hovind and Kramer. The only airport in North Dakota to receive money was Mott, North Dakota. That was the only airport out of the billion. So we'll try again the next go around whenever that happens, and we'll see.
right. So and what is identified in there? I don't have it in front of me, but what's identified in there for build terminal funding in 23? It's probably a fair amount. So that'll be a request next year. Whether you get the funding from that build terminal pot remains to be seen. If you do great, if not, yeah, just gotta shift something else. So.
Each application is limited to 100 words or less, correct?
Correct.
It's kind of a streamlined application, and it's difficult to put all the parameters of your projects in.
So when you're dealing with $14 billion requests and $1 billion of funding, you start to make the applications stand out.
Mhm.
So any questions on this? I guess like I say, it's kind of for your information. It's a living document. It may change again next month if the FAA calls to say, hey, your project here isn't competing well within the region or nationally. It'll adjust accordingly. It's forever moving.
I do have a question, since I'm new, what have you done in the past when you've had a shortfall?
We either will use reserves or delay the project, or we'll basically fund it out of reserves if necessary, and then carry it until federal funding becomes available.
Okay. And is this a number larger than you've typically dealt with?
Yes.
Okay.
I should say in recent years, I guess back in 2002, 2004, when we reconstructed the primary runway, we had some large claims at that time as well.
Okay.
Any questions from the board members online?
None from Eric.
Capitan here,
You cut out, Jim, are you still there? Jim? We lost you. Can we see if he's still up there?
Jim, are you still there?
Oh, the whole phone went dead. Okay, Steve, can you hear us? Steve Blazik? Is the phone dead?
It all froze. I'll take the phone on that.
We'll have to have flashcards, we are dialing in.
I think they're frozen too.
Oh no, Steve had a little car go by him in the background in the picture, in the screen.
Back on?
Not yet.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound. Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound to continue. Please enter the meeting password followed by pound. You are in the meeting now. There are 13 participants in the meeting.
All right, are you back online, Steve Blazik, can you hear us? All right,
Yes,
sorry
I'm
about
here.
that, I don't know why. So Jim Capitan, just continue on, you dropped off as soon as you started to talk there, we lost the line.
well, Eric already answered my question, so that's fine.
Oh, okay, I guess we didn't hear the question.
Oh, the question was, what caused the shortfall, and then all of a sudden everybody went dead, and Eric answered my question.
Okay,
It's the federal FAA didn't come up with their end of the money, is that correct, Sean?
correct.
Okay, very good.
All right, do we need to receive it, or is it because it's just ongoing, it's just information?
Information, correct.
Any other questions on the CIP current date? None, we'll move on. Item 5, receive preliminary 2023 budget.
So I guess we sent them out in order. This is I guess the first iteration with the new accounting system. If you would like, I can send out the historical data from the previous system that would go back to about 2018, I believe. If you'd like to see year over year, it's a 5-year thing that I can print out and send to you if you're interested in those. But
I am.
okay, we can send that out to the board here. So first page should be operations and maintenance. There's 3 pages of that for projected 2023 revenue. Questions there, we're projecting what we'll get through ARPA funding, that's in the red line up there. As you recall, we have a CARES grant that has a little over 14 million there that the FAA throws on us to use for development addendums. Our CARISA grant, we're in the process of doing the final drawdown of the CARISA grant. And then we have an ARPA grant that we haven't started to draw down on, which is about 6.7 million. And those funds can be used for the operations and maintenance of the airport for up to 4 years. We're working with Mead and Hunt on 2 other grants that are going to be distributed to concessionaires. We have 2 concessionaire relief grants. And we're in the process right now of the FAA reviewing our draft rationale for the distribution of those, and that'll be brought before the board. Does that. So that's what's on the top there with ARPA funding and the potential for some additional CARES drawdowns for CARES eligible expenses. I tried to estimate with our relationship that we probably have with PFM, the 20 million at 2.5%. That's probably a little low, but there's an interest there with PMM if we move forward with that.
Sean, on the page 2 of 3, if you can explain the rental car from other piece.
What we did in 2022 is we just went with the guaranteed minimum because we didn't know what was going to happen after CARES and COVID. So we went with what was approved was the minimum annual guarantee, which is $70,000 per year for each car rental agency. Well, what happened was they almost had record revenues last year and then into this year. So the projection there is more reflective of the revenue that we expect to generate from them. So the big jump, 70,000 to 340,000 is reflective of just the industry right now. They've been extremely busy. And our traffic has rebounded much quicker than what everybody expected nationwide. So there's combinations of landing fees, ground rental rates for private aircraft hangars, jetway rental, terminal rents. If you have any questions on that, but it's a little over 12.2 million in projected revenue. We go to the expenses for operations and maintenance, pretty much follows the format that we did. When you look at what I've started on the top, account 561.
1 second. Can everybody out there hear us okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good.
I did have a quick question going back to the car rentals.
Okay.
Do we get a percentage of, or is there a fee attached to each rental car?
10% of
10.
every rental.
10%, okay, all right.
10%. Yeah, it's a percentage of gross revenue agreement.
Okay.
So on the expense side, for full-time staff, you can see my notes at the bottom there. It does assume a 3.5% COLA. I got the discussions with Steve Sprague. That's what the placeholder is for the city, is 3.5% COLA. So that is included in there. We also included an additional full-time airfield maintenance specialist 3. Current starting is current annual is $53,442. It includes an additional full-time airport operations attendant with a step 1 annual starting at $42,145, and it includes the longevity pay for those employees that are eligible for that. So projected overall expenses for operations and maintenance, we're sitting about to a dollar for about 10.6 million. So if you have any questions.
John? Any question? Okay.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Under employee benefits,
Yes.
I see we've got pension benefits, 105,000, and then we've got another under employee benefits. I guess I don't see a page number. So there, it's under 49.3.2. There's one pension benefit says 65,000, one says 105. And do we give all of our maintenance workers or employees?
Oh, okay, so the 7,005, so that would be for the firefighters have their own pension.
Are you on our
line item.
page? It says AR
I'm on page 1 of 3, and then I'm
on
on
the top. What does it say up here?
page 1.
Oh, right here. Does it say anything?
There are 2, so.
Operations.
The
So,
second one you're looking at, the second number.
yeah, the non-firefighters.
Oh, that's for our fire department.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay.
So firefighters are that, 65,000 roughly, that's their pension contribution, so all of them are in ND PERS.
And then, with new employees, we also have a pension
If
plan?
they're full-time, yes, yeah, they go to ND PERS,
Retirement plan, not a defined benefit.
right, retirement. Through ND PERS,
Retirement, so it's not a pension?
no,
Okay.
it's a retirement plan.
Okay, all right.
It may list say pension on here, but that's just the old account thing, we can probably edit that going forward, but.
Because I remember there was some controversy at one time about the city employees having pension, or maybe new employees hired after a certain date not getting a pension, but then I think all the city workers are still getting a pension.
Yeah, no, so in 2008, the city of Fargo stopped adding employees to their pension plan.
Okay,
And then employees that were in the pension plan had the decision to stay or go into ND PERS.
Okay.
Okay, so all new hires then basically go into the ND PERS program. The city of Fargo pension plan is closed, there's no new additions and hasn't been.
okay, and so then we follow that same plan.
Yeah, we go to ND PERS. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So
Oh, I had one more question. There was, let's see, I guess now I understand, I didn't realize it was the firefighters, so
Yeah,
I saw there was
yes.
like duplicate
So
items,
yeah,
like
marked as
clothing.
ARF on the top, that's this 5617,005 account, there's 2 pages.
Okay,
And you'll see that the revenues and expenses equal each other because with rare exception, 100% of the cost of our ARF is covered by the airlines. It's a separate billing.
okay,
So then if you go to page 1 of 1, TSA required Fargo PD officers, we still don't have the budget from the police department. Not sure, but whatever that expense is, 100% of that is recovered from the airlines. That's the 5617,007 that you see in your packet. Any questions on that? Okay, so moving on, the C&I Construction Improvement Fund for non-federal grants, that's 5637004. What we've tried to do is to match with the CIP that you just approved, any of the capital improvement projects with that. Just try what we have in there for the mill levy is based on the estimate from Steve Sprague. The city and the county are a little bit different on what they project for the mill levy next year. The county's a little bit higher, but we won't know the actual amount until like October or November, whenever the city certifies their taxable value for the city to the county sometime later this year. We're projecting a $715,000 per mill, so that'd be $1,430,000. That would be the gross amount, if you follow.
Which page are you on, Sean?
Right now, we're on the C&I non-federal projects, page 1 of 2.
Okay, thank you.
5637004.
Got it.
So that would be the projection for those projects that are non-federal, so they're a little over $5 million, $5,053,900. Okay. So when we go to eligible federal projects, these would be some of the last pages that you have there, the 5637006. This reflects everything that's on the CIP, about $27 million in income and $39.3 million in expenses to try and match what's on the CIP for federal and non-federal. Some of the projects could be delayed. We're going to continue to find federal funds if we can. So that's what's there. That's 11.4 million short of expenses. And what we would do is use reserves to cover any of those shortages until federal funding becomes available and or additional funding from the state. Next page, PFC 5647004, projecting $1,500,070 in PFC revenue. This is a zero balance account, so at the beginning of each month, any PFC money we receive goes back into the 563 account, and there's a line item for that internal transfer. And then the final page is our parking lot operations and maintenance account, parking lot construction and maintenance account. We just project the interest revenue on that 569,704. So, any questions? That's the format I guess we've been following for many years. Let us know. I will send out the history. If you so inclined. So, if you want to approve the preliminary budget, we can certainly do it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
just for my sake of understanding, with this shift of insurance, it looks like you have a health insurance savings. Did you shifted to a non-grandfathered policy, I'm assuming now, did you, for your health insurance?
We're with the North Dakota Public Health Insurance Trust.
Okay, the question we're feeling is, does it include coverage for contraceptive and healthcare? Like, for example, the cities doesn't, because we're grandfathered in.
I can get that answer for you. I don't have
But it's
that.
just a thought to put on your radar in this changing world we're in. And if you have an opportunity to maybe get that coverage and want it, now might be the time to do it. For your people.
It would have to be specifically excluded from a new plan.
I don't know, but
I don't think it is.
So you want to know if it's contraceptives and
yeah, if it's covered in your plan, I know it isn't in the city. And you would have been under the grandfathered city plan prior to this, I'm assuming, so you wouldn't have, your people wouldn't have had that. Maybe, it's just a question to vet now, if your people want that question answered.
yeah, just on the health insurance, so John Heath from Hayes Companies, which manages this on behalf of the Public Health Insurance Trust, it's a Blue Cross Blue Shield plan that we have. They're projecting a 7.3% increase for medical and 8.4% increase for pharmacy for 2023. That's the most recent information on June 28th. They will not know what those actual amounts will be until sometime in October, early November. That's where we're at with our health insurance at this point.
Can we get a motion? Are there any other questions about the preliminary budget for 2023? From the online members? None?
Not here.
Yeah, the reason we call it preliminary is because we don't know what the COLA is gonna be. Once the COLA is determined, what we'll do is follow the lead of the city. That's what we've done in the past. I don't know about West Fargo, the Park District, or county, or any of that stuff, but that's been our basis, is whatever the city has granted, that's what we would. So as we see other political subdivisions doing their COLAs, I guess we'll have to have a discussion.
So as with many documents, the minute we approve it, it probably becomes somewhat obsolete
Correct.
in life. So, but we do need to approve it and move forward. So we can sit and visit with the city as well.
The only other comment is doing the federal budget now, this time of the year, we probably won't know until January. It's just, it's an estimate.
So can I get a motion on the preliminary budget?
I so move.
A second?
Second.
Captain, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? None? Call for the vote.
Lind,
Aye.
Bosworth,
Aye.
Capitan,
Aye.
Heckman,
Aye.
Hingan.
Aye. Moving on to number 6, certified mill levy.
Okay, so we will, per your approval today, certify a mill levy to the city of Fargo of 1.5 million, not to exceed 2.0 mills. It is higher, and that's always at the advice of the previous county auditor, Mike Montplayer, says make sure you're $150,000 to $200,000 higher than what it might actually be, because they just don't know what that final amount will be. The city finally gives them the taxable value later this year. So that's the reason why it's a little bit higher, but it will not exceed 2.0 mills.
And Mr. Chairman, this is.
Sean I have a question from Eric.
Go ahead, Eric.
Steve Sprague said it was gonna be 715,000 per mill on the previous budget page, and you just said it was gonna be 500-some thousand.
No, 1.5 million is what we would certify not to exceed 2.0 mills. And for years, the advice of Mike Montplaisir was to certify a dollar amount a little higher than what the estimate might be, just in case the taxable value from the city takes a significant increase. Give yourself some cushion, but at the end of the day, it won't exceed 2.0 mills, whatever that final amount will be, which will be known later this year. The county's projection, the county's projection was from Brandy was it was about 720,000. They were a little bit higher than the city.
Per mill.
Per mill, yeah. Projected was, so, yeah, from, what's her name here, Brandy Madriga and Alicia Hildebrand, so they're at $715,833.16 per mill. Projected net value of $680,041.50 based on what they know today, but they're certain it's gonna be higher than that.
So we're working with moving numbers always, that we're at the mercy of the county, correct?
City to the
City,
county.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, and this is the maximum that we'll request. It's not setting the actual final amount that we're requesting from the city. It's just to allow the city as they're preparing their budget, so we can come in with a different request in our final stage. So this just sets that. We can't come back and ask for 10 mills.
Correct.
But in all fairness, we do have 4 mills available to us, correct?
That's correct.
By statute.
Yes, by statute. Not that we need them today, but at some point we may. All right, can I get a motion on the certification of the mills?
Move to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments?
Second.
Okay.
I'll just make a note, it's good to be on this path where we're going forward with the dotting our i's and crossing our t's and going through these steps and getting it before the city in an expected fashion that we all know it's coming. You know, it's nice to have this laid out in front of us this year going forward. very clearly.
All right, we have a motion and a second, call the roll.
Lind,
Aye.
Cosgrove,
Aye.
Capitan,
Aye.
Heckman,
Aye.
Engen.
Aye. Moving on to number 7, we should have the, proposed investment advisory statement from him, I believe.
Yep, I emailed out the final one
I
yesterday,
gave that
and
back.
Brian Johnson and Danny Nelson are online from PFM. And I think they met all the expectations and requirements of the board. Stacy, if you wanna.
Really, the only additional language, and I worked with Rick and Brian on this, related to the minimum annual fee of $15,000 to be applied, and the clarification language that if it is not assessed to the city, it is not assessed. Basically, it's not going to be assessed against the airport, and I'm probably minimalizing that when I state it that way, but the clarifying language we asked for, they provided, and so I know I haven't spoken with you, but I know you're comfortable with it, I'm comfortable with it, Sean's comfortable with it.
I have no issue with the document.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, so it was like I cut off right there.
No. So the document looks fine. Can I get a motion to approve, so we can execute and move forward?
Move to approve the investment advisory agreement with PFM Asset Management.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? None? Call.
Lind,
Aye.
Cosgrove,
Aye.
Capitan,
Aye.
Heckman.
Aye.
Engen.
Aye. Moving on to number 8, receive update regarding the terminal area study.
So Monday morning, we'll be meeting with Leibowitz and Horton here in the boardroom. They're gonna come in and go through the whole financial planning model for the terminal expansion. It starts at 8 o'clock, they're planning on 4 hours, so you're welcome to come to attend. If we have more than 2 members, we'd have to let the public know, but that will be taking place here on Monday morning. I'm not sure what information they have based on the option that the board picked at the last meeting, but they're running the numbers and we'll have some information hopefully for us by our next meeting. Results of that. So do you have anything to add, Jeff?
I guess I'll defer to Brandon, I'll defer to Brandon, who's online, he can provide an update on where we're at.
Hey guys, good to see y'all again. Yeah, I was just gonna share the same thing, Sean. So we have our first financial workshop. It's gonna be one of maybe 3 to 4 we're anticipating, just kind of going through and putting together a financial implementation plan. So that's with Leibowitz and Horton on July 18th. And as Sean said, they'll lay out more detailed fund distribution schedule, and they're gonna have one, a preliminary one for us to first start off and react to based on all the financials that Sean and Darren had provided them earlier in the year. So they've been evaluating that and putting that together. And now that we gave them a budget for the concept 3 preferred concept, they're applying it to that budget. So along with that, we have sprung forward to developing concept number 3 that was selected at the last meeting, and developing design options, reviewing code compliance and construction logistics. We're targeting mid-August to share this preferred concept and the financial implementation plan to the board. And then around mid-September, we have penciled in for presenting this preferred concept in the AIP eligibility to the FAA. So that's kind of the big milestones out there. And obviously we'll have quite a few internal meetings with Sean and Darren as we progress through this. So that's about it in a nutshell. Any questions?
I have one. The modeling for the financial side of it, is it based on monthly bi-weekly, or what is that basis going to be? Monthly, quarterly?
I don't have that answer. I would have to defer to Leibowitz for how they're gonna be breaking it out. I can find that out though and let you know. Is there a preference?
I guess I would like to see it monthly, as we have, our budgets are, we have a monthly cycle, if possible. I guess, Sean, prior, has it been monthly?
I believe so.
Yep. Monthly would be, yeah.
Okay.
John? Monthly preference?
Yeah, either or. Weekly gets a little.
That's
Monthly would be.
that's what it'll be then.
So I have a
Okay.
question
Great.
for Brandon and Jeff, as we're kind of going through the different concepts. I think we've got the opportunity to make some choices now. I was doing a little history on the play area that we had that was sponsored by Sanford and Clear Channel. That was a 5-year deal, a play space that was projected from the ceiling. So no kids can climb, there's no cleaning, there's no climbing issues, but a little activity space. If we have room to potentially have something like that, at what time when is the proper time to be discussing that? Some of those, and also restrooms.
Yeah.
The Minneapolis airport
Yeah.
has some really nice restrooms that are really terrific. They have a place for your cell phone, a cup of coffee, a place like when you walk in with your suitcase or a child, you've got space for it. When would the time be to discuss some of those things?
Yeah. That's Jonathan?
Yeah, Brandon, do you mind if I take that one?
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, so we are in the preferred concept that we presented to a couple weeks ago. There is a space that we are preserving for, right now we're calling it like an airport support flexible space that could accommodate the type of space that you are referring to, such as a play area for kids, or a lounge area, or some type of sensory lounge in the East Expansion concourse. On top of that, actually, the space right across from where that airport support flexible space is going to be is where we're preserving space for a restroom module that will include a male-female restroom, family restroom, nursing station, animal service relief area as well. And they will be sized to the updated airport restroom standards, which have increased over the years due to the reasons that you mentioned. More people are using carry-on bags and need to bring those into the stalls, so the stalls have gotten bigger over the years as well as if you go into the more modern restrooms. On top of that, since the pandemic hit, and Minneapolis was actually, they do this as well, from an air circulation standpoint, they monitor the amount of traffic that goes into and out of those restrooms and the amount of times the air circulates. So when more people...
Still there?
Still here.
Justin, you dropped
Fine. Part of the project, right now we're staying on
Justin?
Yeah.
You dropped off for about, I would say 5 seconds there. So you were talking about the restrooms?
Do you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I will say, I'll just end it at this. When it comes to the actual design of the restrooms, that will be hashed out during the design of the project.
Okay.
And when is that gonna be?
Once an architectural engineer firm gets brought on board. Right now, we are.
Is that a next year coming?
What was that, Eric?
What was the timeline on that? Is that next year, or is that this fall, or
Yeah.
when is that gonna be?
Yeah, that'll be next year. So as we're talking about it, we're doing the study right now. we're essentially allocating the spaces for everything you just mentioned. We're allocating space for that. And then the next step, once you hire a designer and get them on board, then you start diving in and saying, okay, this is how I want it laid out. And so we're making sure you have the space for it at this point.
Okay,
Good.
So
thank you.
Answer your question.
Yeah,
And one thing I wanted to add to, you had mentioned, Justin mentioned that we have the pet relief area, the sensory, the interactive, and the kids display. And you had mentioned also making it a priority to implement space for local artwork too. We're also doing that. I just wanted to acknowledge that. I know that was brought up at one of the previous meetings amongst the list of other items.
Okay, we have our city liaison, Commissioner Strand here. Any comments or questions, Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I guess I'm gonna lay my personal thoughts out there, so you know where I'm at, but I wish I had a magic wand, often, because if I had a magic wand, I'd figure out how do we make this design iconic relative to Fargo versus just okay. I mean, not that it's, you know what I mean? So my question is this, maybe we can look for opportunities to partner or to work with others, or however we do it, to step up the design so people never forget the Fargo Airport once they've been here. And that's a lot to ask. But maybe we can do little things to aim toward a more of a design that, and I appreciated Paul Gly's letter to the editor, because his thoughts were similar to my own. And again, I know that's an ask. That's not realistic always, but there are some places they do that, and I don't know how we could ever do that. And if we could, I think the community would celebrate it. That's just my thought.
I couldn't agree more.
I would like to just respond. I did read the letter to the editor, and we wanted to try and be as clear as possible when we were showing the concept. These are massing studies. They have little to no design except for massing. We want to make sure that you have the space there, and that we have the space right. So now is the step, and I couldn't agree with you more. We take great pride and priority on design and listening to what the airport and the community wants out of this project. And that has to go with just what you said, being iconic. This design, what we're going to do by the end of this report is show you possibilities. And then but to get to a design that everybody, I think everybody can celebrate and be happy with and move forward with, you go one step beyond this conceptual plan, and you start getting into the actual design, which will be with your design contract once this report is done. So I feel bad about the letter to the editor that went out there. It is just a massing study. It's not a proposed design, and we tried to make that clear, but it's I think it can be misconstrued when you start showing graphics.
Unfortunately, all good big design projects start with a shell, and then you evolve from that, and I don't think that was taken into account. But that's all right. We have to start somewhere.
There's a lot of things that make Fargo special and unique, and I mean, one thing is we have 3 colleges, we've got the Fargo Marathon that people travel to from all across the country to hope to qualify on flat surfaces. We've got Roger Maris, we've got a lot of great things in our community that the airport would kind of celebrate, I think.
We also have an architecture department, so maybe if our design team could find ways to incorporate the students' visions, and maybe they can get ways to get credit out of it, and we might find some things we could incorporate into the design, but we have a great architecture department. And we have some architects from North Dakota who've gone out into the world and done good. That could maybe.
We actually have one of those graduates working on this project right now as we're developing design. A graduate from that architectural program at NDSU. So, yes, that is. We love these comments and feedback, and I would love to just, move this and take an hour and start listening to some of these things that you guys are saying, but I know we don't have that kind of time here, but that's what we eventually want to get to. We're going to take this into a possibilities direction, and then it's going to be revisited with some listening sessions and design shreds with you, the users, and the community to really get a holistic picture of what the vision is for this for this edition.
Brandon or Justin, can you speak to a couple of things that, the basic design of a terminal building and then how the FAA views it in terms of eligibility? You get 4 walls, a ceiling, and a floor, but then if the airport decides to add significant features to it, the FAA, in a lot of cases, I know Bismarck, even the Missoula that just opened, they push back and they limit their eligibility or the funding of certain amenities that the airport or community may want in their airport. Is that true?
Yeah, it's exactly right, Sean. So the FAA, they will fund up to what your demand is showing, and that's why we do a forecasting effort, we do a programming effort to see how much space is needed to accommodate that future demand. That's what the FAA will help fund. And those are typically non-revenue generating areas, so typically areas that will facilitate the movement of passengers and baggage. What they won't fund are areas of such as concessions or space that will accommodate what we've just talked about, like a playroom for kids. But that's more of the airport providing an experience for the passengers, which has become very popular recently in terminal projects, and adding that and enhancing the passenger experience by providing those amenities. So there is a balance there that we need to provide the amount of space that we think is financially feasible, that the airport can afford, not only afford during construction, but also maintain during after construction, but at the same time providing a
Somebody dropped off.
I think.
He dropped off again. I dropped off. Okay. I'm gonna have to. Sorry, Brandon. That's okay.
It's all right. I think we understand the process, and we'll take baby steps right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, the second challenge is especially the ultra low cost carriers, Allegiant and Frontier, their ability to sign a lease when they look at it as fluff. And that's really going to be a challenge. So we'll be engaging with John DeCoster, who negotiated our last lease and operating agreement with the carriers some time ago. He's most familiar with Landon and Brown now, to help us with that. He's had a lot of successful lease negotiations with the carriers as we get down the road with numbers and what lease rates are going to be for the new space and the existing space. So there's two challenges there. The FAA's view of what the community's building and the airline's view of, well, we don't need that, but you're going to make us pay for it. That's the challenge. And those debates are going to be pretty heated. They want it, but they don't want the fluff. But unfortunately, we need to, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, John, that we've got to do something to spruce it up, I guess.
Any other comments or questions from the board? None. Let's move on to number 9, airport construction and security update.
So Terry, you've been pretty quiet. Do you want to come and just do an update on the checkpoint? We did have some pain and suffering this morning. It was 6 this morning. It was wrapped around the elevator twice and into the gift shop, and I don't know how many people lost. American was looking for 18 passengers when they were going to close the door, and I know United left a bunch behind as well. So it's been a little difficult this morning, but they're making progress.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I think that will continue to get better every day as they get some more stuff going. So, I think the security checkpoint is kind of on point. We kind of knew that would possibly happen. The exit plaza, they're digging for footings right now, and Kevin Fawcett, concrete contractor, will be here tomorrow on footings. So it's progressing, I think, pretty well. Haven't heard anything about steel. Steel's been kind of a bugger lately in terms of deliveries and stuff, but hoping that we had shop drawings approved quite a while ago, so hoping that at the time that we're ready to get out of the ground with foundations, that we'll have some steel there.
It's the project.
Terry from Eric, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I can't hear anything you're saying.
Oh, I'm sorry. The contractors are excavating at the exit plaza. There'll be contractors for concrete showing up tomorrow. And hopefully by the time we get footings and foundations and backfill, won't be waiting too long for steel. We typically do wait some, but lately the steel deliveries have changed almost weekly in terms of what happens. So we're just hoping that doesn't happen, so.
Can you hear that, Eric?
Yes, I did, thank you very much.
I was just gonna ask if we are on schedule with the TSA checkpoint.
I believe so.
Yeah. The first new unit was put in operation last Friday. So they are using the new unit. They have trainers that are in from other airports around the country, and they're training them on the new unit. The second unit is in place, and now we'll just have to get.
Should be operational Thursday evening, and then the third unit will go next week, will be done by the end of the week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like for today, there's just one.
Yep.
Correct,
Unit.
just one.
By
Like
Thursday morning, we should have 2 up and running.
Okay.
Yep, that'll help.
All right. Any questions from the board for Terry?
I do have to tell you.
Mr. Chairman, just,
Yes.
can you refresh my memory what the estimated completion time of the parking plaza is gonna be?
Right now I don't have that schedule in front of me, but I wanted to say by the end of the year.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was about January timeframe, I was
yeah.
just curious, so, okay. Good enough for me, thank you.
All right. Okay, I have to say this, I have to take exception with regards to Paul Blythe's comments in the paper. So we always have budgets to deal with. Professors in architecture really don't understand that. We always have design constraints. We have budget constraints. And I think this airport has served the community really well for the last 20 years. And when it was first put in until I've heard compliments in it just in the last few years. It is a great place. I agree that it'd be fun to take it to the next level. Totally agree with that. But I don't agree that it's drab and out of date and hasn't functioned and those kind of things. So, sorry, I designed it, so.
Well, you kind of inherited something from Foss, so we had to kind of continue what was already in place.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
the design goes back to the 1980s, no doubt. And there's a lot of airports that are the linear type of terminal. And we do receive a lot of compliments, but I'm sure there's others that would like a different color. We did go to the more warm colors of the browns and so forth, from the mauve and the gray and the blue, as that was in the 80s, but that is coming back now, so we'll see. But yeah, it's all good. Everybody can have their opinion. Jeff, on the East Economy lot, we've got some developments there. The first is that when you approved the construction administration fees, it was subject to an independent fee review, and Wes Schoen has finished that. Wes lives out in Montana. Wes's estimate for engineering fees was $264,359, and the Mead Hunt contractors for like $215,000. So we're doing all right.
Sounds like an amendment.
But talk to the East Economy lot and some of the challenges that we're having with materials?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we still don't have a start date for physical construction. I was mentioning to Sean yesterday, so as of Friday last week, there was a single manhole made. And there's probably, I don't know, 20 manholes on the project, maybe not that many, but regardless, the storm sewer manufacturing is the whole critical piece to this project. And Border States obviously doesn't want to start work until they get all the storm sewer. They don't want to like strip all the topsoil off. And then, yeah, basically make a pool, and then be delayed by the storm sewer construction. So, I hate to say it, but it is what it is. I mean, we're all faced with these challenges. So, as soon as I find out something more, I'll let you know. As far as the additional 160 stalls, I'm working with Border State. We have the plans revised, and I'm working with Border States right now to get revised pricing for the additional materials. So hopefully by the next meeting, I can bring that forth. Just to put this on the radar too, Border States did mention that they would request a time extension. So as of yesterday, I asked them to, provide a proposed date, and the airport authority can consider it in a change order too. So
If we get it done by the end of the year, because we really won't need it till about the Christmas time frame and beyond, that's when our overflow needs typically occur. But we'll see. But with the reduction in flight frequencies and schedules, we'll see what we're dealing with next spring.
Their underground work moves pretty quickly if they have all the pieces.
correct, yeah.
They don't want that city open either. They want it
Correct.
filled.
So yeah. Any questions on that?
So discussions for things like bathrooms is tabled until a later meeting or later
Yeah.
special time, okay,
Yeah, we're months away from
okay.
the carpet color and wall color of those, but it's coming.
Design the box and then work on what's inside.
Yeah, we'll do that. So just some other things, at our next meeting, SP Plus will provide the results of the passenger survey that they did here a couple of weeks ago, and also the results of a rate analysis that they do throughout the year. I believe they're gonna request a rate increase for our parking lots in our next meeting. The 14th, so this Thursday, we kick off the first meeting with Brady Martz. So Jamie from Balance Tax and Accounting, Joe and I will be meeting with the team from Brady Martz to start the audit services and get things in place. Because of the short time frame that we have to provide the audit to the city, which is April 1st in the MOU, we're going to work with them to try and start auditing this year's books sooner than later. So it's kind of a progression, and I think they'll be willing to do that. So get January, get first quarter out of the way and then work on second quarter. And I think they're going to be willing to do that because they understand it's a very tight time frame. Now, having said that, there are some in the city that say, well, you're just and I'll get into this here, a discreetly presented component unit of the city's audit. You just give it to us and we upload it. They didn't understand why there was a April 1st time frame because the city's audit didn't finish until June 30th. But we did sign the MOU, it said April 1st, but those that are doing the audit, like, we can get it any time up before June. So, but anyway, our goal is to get it done April 1st, and that's what we'll go to. So that meeting will be here on the 14th. The May financials, we should have had those yesterday. Jamie had to go to a funeral, so she's going to get those out tomorrow morning. So we'll have the May financials out tomorrow morning. It's her goal. June 2022 is the fourth busiest June on record. In fact, we were 200 passengers, approximately 200 passengers less in June of 22 than we were in June of 2021. So we just had a few passengers, and that's because of lack of frequency. On July 8th, Joan and I met with the City of Fargo finance team and kind of our last transitions now that the audit is done. So Steve Sprague, Terry Gayhart, Jamie Bullock, Emily Schultz, Joan and I met. And they will be sending us a check for $424,197.86. That's the last funds that we had on deposit at Wells Fargo in the three different accounts that we maintain there, the PFC account, the construction account, and the operations and maintenance. Steve has decided instead of wiring us the Cass County property tax funds each month, they'll be sending us a check each month for the Cass County property taxes that are part of the mill levy. And as I mentioned before, Ike Bailey's review with the finance department identifies the airport authority as a discretely presented component unit of the city's audit because of the mill levy tie. So that part will be going forward. We also talked about lease standards, and of course everybody's aware of GASB 87. That's been a lot of conversation with airports and cities and counties. Joan sat through the entire Ide Bailey presentation. I got the majority of it, and there's a lot of questions. So that's part of our national airports call is GASB 87. Depending on the auditor, they may determine that some of our leases apply and some don't. The next auditor says they all apply and some don't. So there's some ambiguity in GASB 87 that the auditors are going to be working with, and between Brady Martz and Ide Bailey, we'll get that all figured out. I think that's all that I have. That's it.
Good. Anything for the good of the order? Nothing? Meeting adjourned.